So 7 coaches were hired this offseason. I'm going to go over all of them, see which ones I like, which ones I don't like. Overall, actually, it was a really good period of hiring head coaches. So let me start with Doug Peterson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I love this hire. I always thought Peterson, and I will say this for a long time, is that he got a bad deal in Philly. I think he was unjustly fired. I think it was more to do with incompetent management than it had anything to do with him. I will never believe that Doug Peterson's a bad head coach. He beat Bill Belichick in a Super Bowl, buyout coaching him with a backup quarterback. So you can't tell me that Doug Peterson's a bad head coach. Also, he greatly helped Carson Wentz's career. So I think he's quite good. I think he's going to be a great fit with Trevor Lawrence, and he's what they need. You can bring in someone with like a lot of culture and create a winning culture, bring in someone who actually can work with quarterbacks. Um, Now, the only concern I have right now in Jacksonville is with their general manager Trent Baalke. He is awful. Is he was terrible in San Francisco. So how he got a job here is beyond me. He was the San Francisco 49ers general manager from 2011 2016. He didn't Here's so here are all the players he drafted. In 2011, he drafted Aldon Smith in the first round. He was a good player for a while, but that did not work out. 2012, it was AJ Jenkins, who doesn't never had a catch in his career. 2013, it was Justin Reed, I believe his name is. He was okay. He was a good safety overall. I think he's still in the league actually. Might be playing in Carolina these days. Um, I know he played for Carolina a while back. I don't know if he still is, but as far as I know, he's still in the league. So okay player. Um, 2014, they drafted. I do not remember. Oh yes, it was no. I don't remember who they actually drafted. Tells you a lot about his drafting. And then 2015 he actually made a good pick. He drafted Eric Armstead, and then 2016 he drafted DeForest Buckner, and then they traded back up to draft a guard. I don't remember his name, but he's not in the league anymore. So he has a bad history of drafting. He's notoriously difficult to work with, but they kept him around for some reason. So he's still there. But Doug Peterson, I have complete confidence in until Trent Baalke gets power hungry again and kicks him out. Because I know Doug Peterson. The reason he is not the Eagles head coach anymore is because he had a falling out with their general manager Howie Roseman, and the Eagles under Jeffrey Lurie always sides with Howie Roseman. Every time he sided with him with Andy Reid, sided with him with Chip Kelly, and he sided with him with Doug Peterson. And when it comes to Nick Sirianni's time, he's going to side with him over Nick Sirianni. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be a repeated situation in Philly, but Doug Peterson as a coach is a great hire. So good job, Jacksonville. This is like the only good hire I think they've ever had. Honestly, I'm trying to. They have had a lot of bad coaches, and I think Doug Peterson might be able to turn it around. Next up, the Houston Texans hired their defensive coordinator, Lovie Smith. I don't I don't really understand what the Texans are doing. So they fired their previous head coach, David Culley, despite overachieving for the most part. Now, I expected the Texans to win 4 games, but they were competitive in a lot of those games. He developed Davis Mills into a franchise quarterback, and they fired him for no apparent reason. I thought the reason they fired him was because they were going to bring in somebody like new and like a level coaching candidate. I thought they were going to like bring in someone like I don't know Nathaniel Hackett, the former Packers offense coordinator, or someone like Brian Flores. He's a pretty good coach. I wouldn't. He's not like an elite coach, but he's still pretty good. And he was interviewed for the job, but they decided to go with Lovie Smith. And Lovie Smith used to be a good head coach, but he is not a good head coach anymore. He's in his 60s, I believe. He has the best beard in the league. I mean, I'll give him that. If you don't know what Lovie Smith looks like these days, he has a massive white beard and it looks awesome. But he's I don't think this is a good hire. I think he's going to be one and done again. And Davis Mills is going to have two coaches in 2 years. So I don't even know what the Texans are doing. This hire would have been good for something like last year, but they already had the last year's guy in David Kelly, and I thought he did a good job. I at least think he did a competent job. Much considering all the dumpster fire that Houston is right now, because they don't know what's going on with the quarterback. Their president of football operations, Jack Easterby's a weirdo. Um, their owner, Cal McNair, is a terrible owner. And David Culley, despite all the chaos and all the turmoil, had a good culture and managed to win a few games. And, was competitive in a lot of them. Especially in the final game of the year, where they were trying to create a comeback against the Titans. And they almost did it. But I guess that means nothing. So, you know what? Lovie Smith, he's there, and he's going to be there for 1 year. I can guarantee that right now. Is that Lovie Smith will be the Texans head coach for 1 year, and then they're going to win maybe 5 or 6 games, and they're going to fire him again. I do not like anything Houston's doing. I have a bad feeling they're going to take a quarterback with a top pick for no reason. Davis Mills is a franchise quarterback, and this is not a good quarterback class. But that's going to be in like a later video talking about everything terrible with the Texans. But Lovie Smith, yeah, good job. Sorry, guys. I wrote down all the coaches because I know I'm going to forget somebody's name. The Miami Dolphins hired the San Francisco 49ers head coach Mike McDaniel. Now, I thought the Dolphins shouldn't have fired Brian Flores. And I guess it is getting more complicated because I guess he's suing the Dolphins now, but I don't want to talk about that. But I do want to talk about Mike McDaniel, and I love this hire. He seems like a really smart coach. All of Kyle Shanahan's assistants seem to be like really pretty good coaches. I like Mike McDaniels. I think he's definitely going to help Tua. He did work with Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo is pretty limited, and so is Tua. So if he can work with him, I think Miami is going to be much better next year. They have a really good defense. If Mike McDaniels can hire the right assistants, then Miami should be in good shape. So I really like this hire. I think it was one of the better hires. He seems like a really smart guy. Really funny, actually. So I love what I think he has a lot of good play schemes. I think Mike Gesicki, the tight end, is already really good. So you pair him, he could get like George Kittle type numbers with this offense. Miami honestly just needs to fix the offensive line, and they should actually be okay. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders, for no reason, hired Josh McDaniels to be their next head coach. And I do not know why. I have a terrible feeling about this. So they fired Rick Bisaccia for no reason. He was beloved by players. He took a team in complete chaos and went to the playoffs. He went 7-4 with everybody either getting released, arrested, or having their emails leaked. And he managed to take a complete dumpster fire and bring them to the playoffs. It's amazing. Rich Bisaccia, you could argue, should have maybe won Coach of the Year. He certainly should have been brought back as the Raiders head coach. They were down in the playoffs against the Bengals, but they kept fighting throughout the entire game. That's something that a lot of teams didn't do this postseason. So I think they were stupid to fire Rick Bisaccia. He should have been the head coach. Also, Mike McDaniels was not a good head coach in Denver, and maybe he'll be good. But I have a terrible feeling about this. They brought in a Patriot, somebody who works for the Patriots front office, to be the general manager. They brought in some other coach. This reminds me of when the Lions hired Matt Patricia after firing Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell had gone 9-7, missed the playoffs, and they're like, okay, you're gone. We're going to bring in Matt Patricia because he knows what he's doing. And Matt Patricia is one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen in my life. And they also brought in a bunch of Patriots players. I feel like they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to want to be the Las Vegas Patriots. It's going to crash and burn. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to give Josh McDaniels a chance. I think he's a much better coach than Matt Patricia is. That's for certain. But we shall see. I'm not feeling good about this hire. But, maybe I'll be wrong. Next up, we have Kevin O'Connell, the Rams offense coordinator, is going to be the Vikings' next head coach after the Super Bowl. Um, I like this hire. I think going with an offensive coach was a smart move. We'll see where it goes. I don't have a lot to say about this, honestly. The Vikings have a good roster, and he seems like a good offense coordinator. So yeah, we'll see. Zach Taylor's in the Super Bowl right now, so I guess Sean McVay knows how to hire assistants. So I'm gonna trust that Kevin O'Connell is gonna be a good head coach. Next up, we have Nathaniel Hackett, the Packers offense coordinator, now the Denver Broncos head coach. Good job, Denver. You finally brought in an offensive coach. They've had back to back, but their past two head coaches were both defensive coaches. Bringing in an offensive guy is really smart. Nathaniel Hackett's a really good offense coordinator. He's been the Packers offense coordinator since 2019. Great hire, and I don't believe Aaron Rodgers will be a Bronco next year. I think he's going to be a Packer, but this should be interesting what they do at the quarterback position. Maybe they'll bring in someone like Matt Ryan. I think that'd be really cool. It's possible something happens with Drew Lock. So I have a theory that Drew Lock isn't a bad quarterback. He just never got any coaching. Like, I don't mean like bad coaching. I just don't believe Vic Fangio ever put in the effort to coach him. Like, he always seemed to hate Drew Lock. Never had anything good to say about him. Even in his final press conference, he was talking about how bad his quarterbacks were. He left Denver in a very bitter mood. So I don't know. I'm curious if they do something with Drew Lock. So because he has a lot of potential. I mean, we saw him his rookie year. He was quite good his rookie year, and then it just kind of all went downhill from there. So we will see. I don't think they're bringing back Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is the best bridge slash backup quarterback in the league. I mean, if I could get a backup quarterback, he'd be the guy I want. Um, but otherwise, Nathaniel Hackett, I'm curious to see what he's gonna do with the quarterback situation. But I really like the hire. He's a really good coach. So great job, Denver. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears have hired Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. That's quite the name. I wasn't expecting this. I thought they were going to hire an offensive coach. I actually really thought Brian Dable was going to take this job. But I guess they really liked him. And, he's a good coach. I don't doubt that. Indianapolis always had a good defense. And Frank Reich has good assistants. That being said, he needs to hire a really good offense coordinator. Because Justin Fields is the franchise right now. And if he doesn't work out, like, if he's bad this year, then it's not gonna be good. So I don't know how good he's gonna be, but Matt Eberflus, I'm sure he will do great things with the Bears defense. I mean, their defense is already amazing. It's just my only question is, can he hire a good offense coordinator? And if he can, you know what, great. And I am perfectly on board with this hire. Otherwise, I'm not sure. And I said 7 earlier. I should have said 8. I had completely forgotten about the Giants because I hate them. The New York Giants have hired Buffalo Bills offense coordinator Brian Dable to be the next head coach. This is a fantastic hire for the Giants. I don't know that it's the best spot for Brian Dable. I know he wanted to work with the the Giants' new GM Matt Shane. Was working for the Bills, and I guess they probably have a good relationship. He hired him. So if I were Brian Dable, I would not bring back Daniel Jones. I would call. I'm trying to think of I'd call almost every team that's offering a quarterback. I don't think the Raiders aren't trading Derek Carr, so that's off the table. But if Brian Dable could land someone like, who could they land actually? I know their owner said that he has no interest in bringing in Deshaun Watson, which I understand. Maybe Russell Wilson's not getting traded either. So at this rate, I know Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be available. So you might want to draft a quarterback. We'll see where that goes. So, well, no. If they want to draft a quarterback, I'd go for it. I wouldn't bring back Daniel Jones. I don't think he's very good, but I love the hire of Brian Dable. My one question is about Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs' offense coordinator. I have a few theories. Either A, he's terrible at interviews and just he's gives general managers just a bad impression, which is possible. Or B, he's waiting for Andy Reid to retire so he can become the Chiefs' next head coach. But I think it has to be one of the two. There is no way he'd go this long. Because if there was a time to leave Kansas City, it'd be now. I think it's. I don't think it's going to get significantly better for Kansas City from this point on forward. So we don't know how much longer all the players are staying and whatnot. So if there were a time to leave, he could pack his bags right now because he's been their offense coordinator since 2018. He's amazing. So Andy Reid is 68, I believe. I don't know how much longer he's going to be coaching. He still has a lot of energy, so I don't think he's going anywhere. But that is the only explanation I got. Maybe there's another reason, but I don't really know why. So I would have to say he's just waiting to get the Chiefs head coaching job. So yeah, that's my opinion on the head coaches. I actually like most of the hires. I was kind of surprised about that. There's always a few hires I'm like, but aside from the Houston Texans, I thought everyone pretty much had a great hire, or at least a very promising one. So yeah, those are my opinions on the coaches.